Most people don't lose life because time is short. They lose life because they never learn to shape time. Iqbal reminds us, time is not a river that carries you. It is the raw material from which you carve your destiny. In Iqbal's philosophy, time becomes meaningful only when the self becomes active. Time is not duration, it is the substance from which the self forms its reality. Today, we continue our 50-part journey through Allama Khudi, the masterpiece where Allama Iqbal unveils the inner mechanics of the self. This is episode 10. Take a deep breath, let the distractions fall away, and let the wisdom unfold. Time is not a river that carries us forward. Time is the substance from which we carve ourselves. Every moment arrives empty. But it does not stay empty. It becomes what we place inside it. It becomes memory, action, intention, meaning. It becomes the shape of the soul. Some lives are long in years but short in substance. Others live only briefly yet leave an echo across centuries. The difference is not duration. The difference is depth. Time is not measured by clocks. It is measured by transformation. A minute of clarity is worth more than an hour of distraction. A single morning of purpose can outweigh years of drifting. When the self awakens, time becomes alive. When the self sleeps, time becomes dust. The question is not how much time life gives us, but how much of ourselves we give to time. Most people exist inside time like passengers. They are carried by routines, expectations, habits, impulses. Days occur, events unfold, years pass. Yet nothing within them truly changes. They experience time as motion without direction. But the self was not created to drift. The self was created to shape. Time is not background. Time is material. The world offers us moments. The self decides what they become. Purpose without time is fantasy. Time without purpose is decay. What makes a moment sacred is not that it arrives, but that we act through it with intention. Time is the stage upon which the self must perform its becoming. It is the arena where potential confronts reality. It is where dreams are tested, where desires reveal their sincerity, where character is proven or abandoned. Time is the test of truth. The self may imagine greatness, but only time reveals whether it will choose the discipline required. The self may feel love, but only time reveals whether that love becomes sacrifice. The self may hold belief, but only time reveals whether belief becomes action. Time is the judge of authenticity. It exposes whatever cannot endure. Illusions fade. Pretense dissolves. Only what is real survives the measurement of days. The strongest truths are those that grow heavier with time, not lighter. There are those who run from time by drowning it in noise. Experience piled upon experience, but not digested. Movement without meaning. Activity without creation. Noise gives the illusion of life, while stealing life itself. A day spent in constant stimulation. is a day without depth. A life full of experiences may still be empty, if none of them change the self. Time does not care how much we see. Time cares how much we become. Silence is not the opposite of life. It is the space where life begins to speak. When the self becomes quiet, time becomes visible. Not as minutes, but as opportunity, as responsibility, as unfolding destiny. We are not simply in time. Time is in us. The future is not a place we enter. It is a shape we create. Life does not ask, "What did you want?" but, "What did you build?" Each morning arrives. There are moments we recall for the rest of our lives. Not because they were dramatic, but because they revealed a choice. A moment of courage. A moment of truth. A moment when we refuse to run. These moments become anchors in the river of memory. They do not fade. They define. Time does not weaken meaningful events. It deepens them. It polishes them like stones in a current, until they shine with clarity. We become the sum of the moments we refuse to ignore. There are days that pass unnoticed, and there are days that change direction. A life is not made of years. A life is made of turning points. Time has a rhythm, but it does not move the same for everyone. For the one who drifts, days feel heavy, long, repetitive. For the one who is becoming, days feel light, urgent, alive. To the sleeping soul, time is a burden. To the awakened soul, time is a gift. Time is not merely duration. It is invitation. It invites the self to participate in creation, to take raw existence and turn it into meaning. We honor time by turning life into something that remembers us. Some try to escape time by living in the past. Others escape time by living only for the future. Both are forms of absence. The past is valuable only when it becomes insight. The future is valuable only when it becomes action. All creation happens in the present. The present is not a fleeting moment between past and future. It is the meeting point of eternity and choice. It is the only doorway through which transformation enters the world. To be present is not to simply exist in a moment. To be present is to give oneself fully to a moment. Presence is not awareness. It is participation. A moment becomes alive only when the self commits to shaping it. Time expands for those who are present and collapses for those who sleep. The self that masters time does not ask, "How much time do I have?" It asks, "What will this moment become through me?" And in that question, time begins to obey. Time does not reveal itself to those who rush through it. Speed blinds. Movement becomes a shield against awareness. The faster we move, the less we see. A quiet life is not an empty life. It is a life in which time has room to speak. Sometimes growth does not look like action. Sometimes growth is a decision forming in silence. A courage being born in solitude. A truth taking shape in the dark. Time works on us even when we appear still. So long as our stillness is deliberate. There is a stillness that awakens. And a stillness that decays. The self must learn the difference. Stillness that awakens is reflection. Alignment. Clarity. Integration. Stillness that decays is avoidance. Fear. Numbness. Escape. Stillness becomes creation. Only when it prepares us to act. Action is the bridge between the self and time. Time offers the opportunity. Action turns it into reality. Most people misunderstand action. They confuse busyness with motion. Motion with progress. Progress with transformation. Doing more does not create becoming. Becoming begins when action is aligned with purpose. Action without purpose drains the self. Action with purpose builds it. A single meaningful act may transform more than 1,000 tasks done without conviction. Time nourishes those who act from their center. It exhausts those who act from confusion. Time is not only what we do. It is also what we refuse. Every yes is a doorway. But every no can be a shield. We protect our time by choosing what we will not become. Refusing distraction is creation. Time serves those who govern themselves. Without self-governance, time leaks away through the cracks of desire, impulse, and fatigue. The self that cannot control itself cannot control time. We often wait for time to bring clarity. But time does not create clarity. Action creates clarity. Experience creates clarity. Courage creates clarity. The future reveals itself to those who walk toward it. A path forms by being walked. A destiny forms by being lived. Time tests the sincerity of desire. Everyone wants change. Few are willing to endure the friction that change demands. Desire without endurance is wish. Desire with endurance becomes destiny. The self must earn its future. Nothing becomes real until time has tested it. Time is not neutral. Time amplifies whatever we repeatedly choose. If we choose fear often, fear becomes identity. If we choose courage often, courage becomes identity. If we choose distraction, the mind becomes fragmented. If we choose presence, the mind becomes whole. We become the pattern of our choices. Identity is not discovered. Identity is accumulated. The self grows when the pattern of our days matches the truth of our intentions. A person may believe in greatness, yet live in habits that make greatness impossible. Truth is not what we claim. Truth is what we repeat. There is a difference between wasting time and resting time. Rest is an investment. It returns strength, clarity, perspective. Escape is a cost. It returns nothing. Rest restores the self. Escape dissolves it. Time reveals not only who we become individually, but what we are becoming collectively. Civilizations rise when people respect time. They fall when they consume time without creating. A society that worships entertainment has already begun to decay. A society that honors learning, work, silence, creation, discipline. Such a society expands into the future. Time is not kind to cultures of distraction. The self must learn not only how to work in time, but how to dream in time. Dreams are not fantasies. Dreams are visions that demand embodiment. A vision that does not translate into effort is not a vision, it is a comfort. Dreams become real when they begin to require sacrifice. Every life contains seasons. There are seasons of learning, seasons of building, seasons of loss, seasons of rest, seasons of transformation. Do not rush the season of growth. Do not escape the season of trial. Do not resist the season of silence. Each season shapes a different layer of the self. Time carves depth through variety. There will be years that feel like nothing is happening. These are often the years when everything is being prepared. Foundations are invisible until they hold weight. The tree grows roots long before it offers fruit. The self must trust the slow work of becoming. Time does not always announce its meaning. We understand our chapters only when they have closed. A conversation years ago may become the seed of a revolution. A failure may become the door to wisdom. An ending may become the beginning of truth. Life reveals itself backward, but must be lived forward. Meaning unfolds in retrospect. To master time is not to control events. It is to stand awake while events unfold. Time is not ours to command externally. It is ours to command internally. The self that controls attention controls experience. The self that controls intention controls direction. The self that controls action controls destiny. Time humbles us because it refuses to repeat a moment. What is lost is truly lost. What is unlived remains only a shadow. But time is merciful because it always offers now. We begin again not when circumstances change, but when we choose to change. The doorway to transformation never closes. The self rises the moment it decides to rise. Time belongs to those who show up, not to those who wait, not to those who wish, not to those who regret. Regret is a graveyard of unlived moments. Gratitude is the resurrection of possibility. We are not passive witnesses of time. We are its partners. The universe unfolds through us, as much as we unfold within it. Time is the canvas. The self is the painter. Action is the brush. Purpose is the vision. When the self aligns with its highest aim, time becomes saturated with meaning. A single day becomes a lifetime. A single act becomes a monument. A single thought becomes prayer. Time deepens where attention dwells. Without attention, time evaporates. With attention, time becomes memory. With devotion, time becomes legacy. There are moments of life that are dense with eternity. Moments in which the self transcends fear and stands fully alive. Moments of truth. Moments of courage. Moments of surrender to what must be done. These moments carve identity into the soul. They do not pass. They echo. Those who fear death cling to time. Those who understand purpose transcend time. Death does not end a life lived deeply. It ends a life lived shallowly. What is created from depth continues. What is created from ego dissolves. There is a way of living in which time becomes prayer. When every action is aligned with truth, every moment becomes sacred. When every step is guided by conscience, every path becomes holy. Time becomes the medium through which the self meets God in action. What we do with time determines what time will do with us. Time can carry us, or we can rise within it. The choice is continuous. The choice is ours. We do not master time by controlling hours. We master time by controlling ourselves within the hours. When desire rules, time is lost. When conscience rules, time is honored. When purpose rules, time becomes creation. The self that lives with purpose does not simply spend time. It invests time. And what is invested returns multiplied. Sometimes in achievement. Sometimes in wisdom. Sometimes in strength. Sometimes in love. Time does not always reward us visibly, but it always rewards us inwardly. When lived with integrity, there will be moments when life demands waiting. Waiting is not wasting. When the waiting is filled with preparation. A door may not open today, but we can sharpen ourselves so that when it opens, we are equal to the path beyond it. Waiting becomes stagnation only when we stop becoming. The past holds lessons, but it cannot hold the self. To cling to memory is to refuse discovery. We honor the past, not by staying in it, but by using what it gave us to live with greater truth. Memory is not home. Memory is fuel. The future is not a promise. It is a possibility. Possibility is delicate. It can vanish if not honored. It can unfold if pursued. The future belongs to the self that prepares for it in the present. Preparation is not merely planning. It is transforming what we hope to become later. We must begin becoming now. Some believe destiny is fixed. Some believe destiny is chosen. Iqbal offers a third view. Destiny is the meeting point between the divine will and the self that dares to act. We are not authors of existence, nor are we prisoners of it. We are participants. The divine gives conditions. but the self determines what is made of them. Two people may receive the same hardship. One becomes bitter. One becomes wise. Two people may receive the same opportunity. One wastes it. One builds upon it. Destiny is not circumstance. Destiny is response. The universe is unfinished. Creation continues. Each life is a verse added to the poem of becoming. The self expands existence by expanding itself. In this expansion, time becomes the workshop of God. Every great soul in history is not remembered for having lived, but for how they lived, for how they used their hours to awaken others, to build, to liberate, to illuminate. Time becomes immortal when lived for something greater than survival. Immortality is not escape from time. It is fulfillment within time. The self that rises through time does not fear endings. Endings are thresholds, gateways from one form of existence to another. What is real is not lost. What is false cannot remain. When the self has lived with purpose, death does not cut the thread. It completes the pattern. If life is a canvas, then death is the moment the brush is lifted. The painting remains. It speaks for us. Our time becomes our voice, echoing into the future. There is a moment in every awakened life when time shifts from being an enemy to being an ally. Not something to outrun, but something to walk beside. Not something to fear, but something to cultivate. Time becomes a companion in the journey of becoming. To live well is not to live long. To live well is to live deliberately. To give each breath a destination. To give each day a signature. To give each moment a soul. The self that wastes time looks back and mourns what might have been. The self that honors time looks forward and sees what can still be born. It stands in the present, not as a victim of circumstance, but as a creator of possibilities. Time bows to courage. It protects those who dare. It tests those who awaken. It refines those who endure. It remembers those who love. The self becomes eternal when time becomes meaningful. A shallow life asks, how can I spend time? A deep life asks, how can I transform time into being? One consumes the hours. The other becomes them. The self, awakened to its power, does not wait for the right moment. It recognizes that the right moment is made, not found. The right moment is the moment we choose. We rise not by living many days, but by living the day before us completely. By meeting time not as background, but as responsibility, as partnership, as the field where existence watches what the self will do next. The soul that understands time speaks not in hours, but in transformations. It measures life, not by what happened, but by who it became. When the self finally stands in full awareness, it sees time not as a boundary, but as a ladder that reaches beyond the world, whose steps are built through action and intention. We climb not by knowing, but by doing, not by hoping, but by becoming. And there, at the summit of becoming, the self whispers, I was not here merely to pass through time. Time was given so that I may shape myself and carry what I have become into eternity.